Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Here we are. We are back in better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. And here's what I have to say. Everything good about the great game of baseball was on display last night. It began with a celebration of its past, which baseball does better than anybody, and Vin Scully does absolutely best. Then we got the game, which was a gripping, thrilling 11-inning masterpiece that featured a truckload of first-time evers and ended with the Dodgers and Astros even at one game all in the World Series.
Well, listen, I know we're gonna break this one. Obviously, Don Aron Hembo gave me some great notes, especially on Rich Hill. We're going to get into Rich Hill going 4 innings and why he didn't go any more than 4 innings and what was the reason behind that, even though Eduardo Perez told us yesterday that was going to happen. Really was amazing. But, I mean, are you kidding me? 8 home runs in this game, 5 in extra innings. And here's the thing. The thought that Justin Verlander gave up 2 hits, both of them, unfortunately, home runs, that had his team down 3-1 in the 6th inning, and the Dodgers bullpen was already in the game. It had already been brought in after 4 innings. You had to be thinking, okay, game over. This is the same bullpen that had thrown scoreless 28 innings. So how much trouble were the Astros in at this point? And then all of a sudden the fireworks all happened late, including back-to-backers by Altuve and Correa. Just incredible extra innings in this game.
And as you will hear Timmy Kirkshin say, I have set it aside. I want to make sure we play it, because there's never a day that we have an interesting game go by where Tim will not tell you this is what makes baseball so great, is you never know what's going to happen. And I told you I'm working on my Tim Kirkshin.
I know you are.
Imitation. I'm going to give it to you at some point here before the World Series is over. But that really was what it was, because the script was perfectly set up for the Dodgers to take a commanding hammer 2-0 lead with Yu Darvish ready to pitch in Game 3, and then the rest of the game happened last night. And exactly what you expected not to happen is what happened. The Dodgers had been 98-0 this season in games they led after the 8th inning. It's now 98-1, and the Astros have life. The best offense in baseball finally broke out against that bullpen. They tried to get 6 outside of Kenley Jansen. Everyone in the world is crushing Dave Roberts for doing that. I'm not going to do it, because you go with the guy that has gotten you there before. You have the off day. This is obviously this is not something he just got a gut feeling to do. This was something they had decided they were going to do. It made sense. And if he gets the 6 outs he's supposed to get for you, then you walk out of there. You got your best on the mound, and you walk out of there with a seemingly insurmountable lead. I'm not going to crush the manager.
No, I'm not. I go before that and said, should Rich Hill have been out of the game? To me, that was the bigger question. Here's a guy that goes 4 innings, has 7 strikeouts, gives up 1 run, 3 hits, throws just 60 pitches, and they pull him. And you saw him in the dugout. He was not happy about it, but they didn't want him to face the batting order the 3rd time around.
That's it. And that's where the sport is now. How many times, who was it that gave us that really good insight that one day that we were talking about it? Who was it again? It says, I'm losing. Who?
David Ross was here.
David Ross. It was David Ross who was saying that's unless if you're Justin Verlander. I mean, at this point, you don't want to say it with Clayton Kershaw, because that had been his problem going through the lineups for the 3rd time in the playoffs against the Cardinals all those years. But that's pretty much what it is. They did not want these guys to get one more shot at him, especially in what you've got the lead, but it's a close game. If it's 6-1, then that's one thing. 3-1 is another.
Do you believe in stats at all? Did you believe in what a player has done, though? I mean, should that go into the equation? Here's what the stats that Hembo gave me. I mean, during the regular season, by the way, Rich Hill has only pitched to one player in the postseason a 3rd time through. Only one player. Mm-hmm. In the regular season, he's pitched to 105 batters the 3rd time through.
And?
You know what their batting average is?
Tell me.
184, with only 6 extra base hits. He got it done in the regular season.
Here's the thing.
I mean,
the manager doesn't have access to those numbers. Only Hembo does.
I really want to know, because I get it. Listen, Eduardo Perez sat in here and told us it was going to happen. I get it. I went into every game in my life starting in high school with a game plan. Every single game. High school, college, the pros. I get it. Every sport has a game plan. But during the game, don't you adjust game plan sometimes?
Well, that's an interesting question. Do you or not?
I don't know. A guy throws
when football coaches script the first 25 plays. No, but they script the first 20 plays plays of a game. Do they deviate from that?
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But this we're talking about an entire game. We're not talking about the first 10. I guarantee you we've adjusted many things during the time sitting on the bench.
Yeah, sure.
In between here. That's my point. You adjust at times. So if that was the game plan, I mean, and I'm looking forward to talking to Buck Showalter a little later, or any baseball person, to say, okay, I get it. I get the game plan. But then you get in there, the dude's got 7 strikeouts, has thrown just 60 pitches. He had the 18 batters. He wasn't going through that for that third time. Do you not have the gut of, you know what, I'm going to let him go throw? If he gets into trouble, I can pull him. But it just seemed like that was a game plan, and no matter what, they were sick. And maybe it's completely different in baseball. I don't know that. That's what I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm an expert in that, because I'm not. But I got to believe in every sport there's gut, there's numbers, there's feel of a game, how somebody's throwing. So I'm not going to lie. While I wasn't stunned he was pulled, I was a little shocked going, man, he's dealing pretty well. He's only got 60 pitches in. You let him go a little longer.
Listen, those are the decisions these guys get paid to make.
Yeah.
And when they work, you look like a genius. And last night he had it working. I mean,
he did.
He gets the game with the lead to his bullpen. At the end of the day,
He
however
did.
you get there, that's his goal.
They're up 3-1 in 6, right?
Yeah.
They're up 3-1. They got 3 runs off Verlander. They have the lead. The bullpen's on. So I get it. I mean, all of that worked out. They were in Dodger area right there.
Absolutely.
It was setting up. If people wanted to leave early and said, our bullpen's in, I'm going to beat traffic and go home, we're going to be up 2-0. But now, as they say, the series officially started because the visiting team won a game.
All right, let's go through this with Off the Top. And, of course, it does start with that. The Astros beat the Dodgers 7-6 in 11 innings. It was a remarkable Game 2 of the World Series.
Well, here's what you missed with firsts in the game. First game with 5 extra-inning home runs, regular season or playoffs. First World Series game with 8 combined home runs. For the Dodgers, first time losing a game they were leading after 8 innings this season. They were 98-0. For the Astros, first World Series win in franchise history. First team with home runs in the 9th, 10th, and 11 innings of a postseason game. First team with back-to-back extra-inning home runs in a World Series history. Not bad.
You'll hear from all of the winners and others in just a moment. Elsewhere, we got Thursday Night Football tonight. Interesting game in the AFC. Dolphins and Ravens tonight. The Ravens officially have 11 players listed as questionable. Did you see their injury list? Someone sent me their injury report for this game. They have like 2 guys out. I'll read you all the names a little bit later today, but they have 11 players listed as questionable.
What I want to know here, Hembo, is get me the over-under for this game, because the Dolphins rank last at 262 yards a game. The Ravens rank second last at 278 yards a game. The last time the bottom 2 teams in yards per games played was Week 17, the 2015 season. We needed overtime for the 49ers to beat the Rams 19-16.
I'll tell you this. All those numbers that the Dolphins have not put up this year, most of them came with Jay Cutler playing quarterback.
Well, you're pretty high on Matt Moore coming in and being Dan Marino all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, all I can tell you is how much better they were with him in the second half than they were with Jay Cutler in the first half last week, and in the entire first game they played against the Jets.
Moore's 8-7 as a starter, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He has better numbers than Tannehill and Cutler in the last 2 seasons. I get it, but I'm going to pull the reins a little more than you are. I think tonight he may do well. But when you're going to count on a backup quarterback for weeks at a time, now he has started, in the double digits of games.
And the other thing I'll say is he's not stepping in for Aaron Rodgers. He's stepping in for Jay Cutler.
Exactly. It's not going to
take
a lot.
Jay Cutler was supposed to be a broadcaster this year.
Yeah, you're right.
And let's just say it for what it is. That's gone badly.
Yes,
they were disguising it a little bit or covering it up a little bit by winning some games in crazy fashion. Their record in 1-score games the last 2 years is ridiculous, and their defense is pretty good. But he's played badly. Cutler has been bad.
Yes. I agree with that.
I think they were better with more. The over-under, by the way, is 37.
I think I'm going to lean to the under.
Oh, me too.
Off the top.
Okay. Cavs lose to the Nets. How about this? LeBron has a triple-double playing point guard again, but the Cavaliers lose to the Nets.
Here's some great numbers here. The Cavs lost to the Nets, a team without D'Angelo Russell or really any household name at all. Here's LeBron had, of the 11 players that played for the Nets, LeBron has outscored them 28,925 to 16,914. LeBron has 13 All-Star selections. None of the 11 have one. LeBron has 56 triple-doubles. None of the Nets players, those 11 players.
And the Nets won.
And it came down to, listen, LeBron, you want to talk about, not a great part of his game to one of the greatest of all time is free throw shooting.
Yeah, he missed a foul
and he
shot
came
at
down
the end.
10 seconds ago. They were down 2. So he missed the second one on purpose once he missed the first one. But not been clutch in there. Entering Wednesday, LeBron was 16 of 26. That's 61% on free throws with the team down 1 or 2 points in the final 15 seconds of his career. So he didn't come through.
No, he's not a great foul shooter. And the Cavs have all the reason in the world to want to beat the Nets because the Cavs have the Nets' first-round pick.
Yeah.
They want the Nets.
That's exactly right.
Last night was a disaster for the Cavaliers.
All the way around. You're right.
All the way around. What else? Oh, I would have lost a fortune betting on the game last night between the Wizards and the Lakers. I thought the Wizards were going to beat them by 20. I thought that John Wall was going to just stomp Lonzo into the ground. And while Lonzo shot terribly last night, he actually had a pretty good game all the way around, and the Lakers beat the Wizards in overtime.
Yeah, they did beat them, 102-99, tied it up. At the end, Wizards were winning this game. The Lakers tied it up to send it to overtime. As far as the lines, Lonzo was 2 of 11, 6 points, but 8 rebounds and 10 assists. He sees the floor so well. When Wall guarded him, I think it was on 24 plays, no points, no assists.
Correct.
For Lonzo Ball. But listen, watching Lonzo play, the scoring, you hope it will come. The defense, you hope it will come. He's certainly a young player, so he has plenty of time to develop. But, man, he sees the floor. At 6'6", he can get the rebounds, and he makes some great passes out there. And, again, it was Ingram who had the game tire, I think, to send it into overtime.
Yes, on a tip-in. He tipped. He followed his own shot.
He followed a shot. Oh, my God, stunning in the NBA. But, so that matchup, while Wall ended up with 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists, Wall shut him down when they were on each other man-to-man. The bottom line is Lakers win the game.
Lakers won the game. And then finally, the Steelers have benched Martavis Bryant, or will, for their game against the Lions this weekend. They've basically given him the ultimate just shut up award.
Yeah, they have, and along that line, all yesterday was Juju Smith-Schuster's bike was found, not in Martavis Bryant's basement. It was not. As some were implying, that's not the way it went. But, yeah, Bryant was on the practice squad, not the practice squad, the show team. He was not running plays with the offense at all, and he'll be deactivated for this game. And then we'll go from there. And all the things he said afterward were basically all the things that he probably should have been saying all along.
And that is what everyone's talking about with Mike and Mike, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And let me say, because a lot of people were tweeting at me yesterday after they announced this about Martavis Bryant, because I was sort of taking his side yesterday. What I was trying to say yesterday is I understand the way he feels. It doesn't mean I think he's handling it the right way.
Right.
So while I get the way he feels, and I sort of sympathize with the situation that he's in, I don't have any problem with them handling it the way they handle it. Especially, this is the kind of thing you can do when your season is going pretty well. They're 5-2.
Right.
He's not that important a part of their offense right now anyway.
He's certainly been targeted less, but at this point they're not trading him, and as Mike Tomlin said, he'll rain down his discipline, and that's what he did. And you heard Martavis Bryant. If you didn't, we'll
play it. Yeah,
we'll play it. I mean, a lot of stuff he said. Go ask my agent. Go ask my agent. Go ask my agent. But said he's going to keep his mouth shut. He's going to be quiet. If he's going to be in Pittsburgh, he's going to play and practice as hard as he can, which is what he should have been doing all along. You don't have the power, especially for his play, where he is on the pecking order in the overall, like you do in the NBA, as you do in the NFL, and then from the pecking order as well. So he's going to do what he should have been doing all along. If he's going to be there, just play as hard as you can, try and get as many catches you can, and make of it what you can.
We'll talk to Herman about it. He'll be in our studio coming up shortly. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com. Okay, I want to just play you sound bites from last night's World Series game. It was a great game. Hopefully you saw it. I'm assuming the ratings for last night are going to be really good. So Mike can continue giving you all kinds of numbers, but let's let you hear from those who were involved in it. Let's start with Jose Altuve, who will be the American League's most valuable player, and he hit one of the big home runs last night.
Crazy game, man. I mean, I'm so happy we won this game. I thank God for the opportunity to be here again. This is, one of the best games I ever played. We hit a couple homers, then they tied the game. We hit another homer. They hit another homer, so it was crazy. But in the end of the day, what it matters is that we won this game. We put a lot of effort behind every single at bat. Our pitchers went out there, try to do the best job, and we won. Now let's go to Houston, and I know it's going to be fun out there.
back-to-back. He and Correa in the 10th inning. I mean, unbelievable to come back. And the bats woke up for Houston. They had 14 hits in this game. The top four in the order hit .391, were 9 of 23, scored 4 runs, had 6 RBIs. They were absolutely getting the job done.
They were the best offense in baseball all year long, and that frequently doesn't translate in the postseason because the pitching gets better and the bullpens are used differently. And a lot of big offensive numbers, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, a lot of big offensive numbers come during the course of the regular year because of the way the regular year is positioned. You wind up facing bad pitchers, tired pitchers, bullpens that are, use themselves up the day before. You don't get that in the playoffs, so you don't get the offensive explosion. Last night, you got the explosion. Yeah, and my favorite thing about that soundbite we just played for you, those of you watching it on ESPN2 saw it. It was Buster Olney doing the interview with Jose Altuve, and Buster genuinely does tower.
He does
over Jose Altuve.
Absolutely does.
Buster Olney, who, and you know how much we love him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a small man.
He and Timmy Kirkshin, I've done it. I've gone out on a limb and made a few jokes about their height over the years.
You've made quite a few.
Yes, I have.
In fact, I would say if I had to go back over the funniest things I think you've said over the years on this show, many of them have been about Buster and Timmy.
It has.
But anyway, Buster is he's a head taller than Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
That's got to be the way this thing is being shot also. He can't be that much bigger than Altuve.
But that's the best player in the American League right there. He's going to be the MVP. And that was the offense last night that the Astros were expecting, and they did it on the road, something they haven't done that well, certainly in the postseason, and they did it last night in a big spot.
Great moment last night in the dugout was Justin Verlander, who pitched well, but not well enough that he was in position to lose that game, imploring his teammates. You saw him giving sort of an impassioned pep talk in the dugout during the game, and here he was explaining afterwards what exactly he was saying.
I mean, it's so easy to say, man, we're probably not going to win this game down 2 against one of the best bullpens in baseball. I just wanted to really remind these guys how great they are. And, I mean, I've pitched against them. I know how good they are. It doesn't matter how good of a pitcher you are. This lineup can hurt you so quickly. And, I guess maybe that was just my message, is stay positive, remember how good you are, and just play the game. I mean, it's only 2 runs. This team, since I've been here, and I know it hasn't been that long, but 2 runs is nothing. And all of a sudden, 2 runs seemed like it was the Grand Canyon. I just kind of, I don't even know if anybody heard me, but I was just trying to remind these guys, 2 runs is nothing.
But you could see why it felt like the Grand Canyon. Here's a guy in Verlander who throws 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, gives up 2 hits. And they're losing 3-1 when he's done. Going to the bullpen of the Dodgers that have gone 28 scoreless innings. I mean, and it come into the game from after the 4th inning. So you had to be thinking, okay, this is not going well. Think about it from the other side. 8 home runs in this game, right? 14 hits for the Astros. There were just 5 hits for the Dodgers. This is one of the most unbelievable, and Hembo brought it up to me. It's one of the most unbelievable stats I've ever seen. So 5 hits. Do you know when the only hit that wasn't a home run came?
Go ahead, tell me.
Kike Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
Game-tying hit in the 10th inning. Their only non-home run hit was a hit in the 10th, came in extra innings. Mm-hmm. All other 4 hits were home runs. It's just unbelievable.
It was a crazy game.
Yeah.
That's a great statistic. It was one of those games that are so crazy that it made Tim Kirkshin slap his forehead repeatedly. Here come my favorite 17 seconds of the morning.
This, John, is why baseball is the greatest game. This is why you cannot take your eyes off of it because, again, something might happen that you just slap your forehead. I think I slapped my forehead 5 times tonight in extra innings alone.
I love him.
I love that man.
Because when he starts to talk, it's like he's going to start to laugh.
But it's
great.
Again, the imitations. There are so many people that do such a good Tim Kirkshin that I don't want to do a bad one. But I do love it when he gets into that. And I do love that he slapped his forehead 5 times during extra innings last night as the Astros, with home runs in the 9th and the 10th and the 11th, wind up winning Game 2.
And all the players that we're talking about, you got to give a shout-out to George Springer. Here's a guy that in Game 1 struck out 4 times. Question, should he be leading off? And that was a question going back and forth. You saw the tweets from his sister throughout the game. It was pretty cool. He ends up going 3 for 5 with the home run, 2 RBIs, the 11th inning home run, tied for the 4th latest in World Series history. I live in Avon, Connecticut.
Yeah.
He went to Avon Old Farms.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah, went to Avon Old Farms. So, yeah, that was pretty cool to see. But just coming back like that, 4 strikeouts in Game 1, a lot of people kind of like, what's our leadoff guy? Well, how's he going to do in this one? And I'd say it worked out pretty well.
Well, so where do we stand as of now? Coming back in a moment, you will hear Timmy Kirkjian with his thoughts on where the advantage lies after 2 games of this World Series. Plus, Herm Edwards is on his way in our studio. We're talking football and more with him.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
The 2 to Springer, and a swinging the ball well hit to right center field. Hernandez giving chase, not going to get there. And it is gone. It carried right over the fence in right center. Springer with a home run. And the Astros take the lead yet again. It is 7-5 here in the 11th.
And that was just one of the great moments in what was a thrilling Game 2 of the World Series last night. Dan Schulman, the call here on ESPN Radios, is the Astros come from behind to beat the Dodgers 7-6-11. The series tied up at a game apiece. The game featured a series record 8 home runs. They'll take a day off to travel, and Game 3 will be tomorrow night. Coverage starts 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I told you I would have lost a fortune on the Wizards and Lakers last night. Lakers win that game. Lonzo Ball had 10 assists and 8 boards. Didn't shoot the ball well, but the Lakers did get a win in overtime. And the Steelers have benched Martavis Bryant for Sunday's game against the Lions. You know the history of that one there. We'll talk to Herm Edwards about it as he joins us right now. SportsCenter brought to you by CT Shirts.
Time to upgrade your wardrobe with CT Shirts, the most exquisitely crafted, British-styled, crease-free shirts you're ever going to wear. One CT shirt normally costs you $100, but we're going to get you 3 shirts for just $99. Go to ctshirts.com/Mike. That's ctshirts.com/Mike.
There are some sites that when you see them, you just know everything's going to be okay, and one of them is Herm Edwards sitting in our studio. Good morning, Herm.
Good morning, gentlemen. Well, we got World Series going on. The Lakers win last night. I don't mind the Dodgers losing. I'm a Giant fan. But think about the World Series. I always reflect on this. It's funny now. I'm gonna age myself. I can remember growing up in junior high school. The World Series was like big. And I had a math teacher when I was in the 8th grade. Well, like the World Series was yesterday, and it's a weekday, and you're in school, and it was during the day. Mm-hmm. And he'd have the TV in there with the antennas, and we'd actually watch the World Series in math. We'd get to watch a couple innings. I was like, man, this is a great class. I love this math class. I was holding the rabbit ears for the antenna because it's kind of going in and out. We're watching the World Series, man. It's good stuff.
Every young kid out there is going rabbit ears.
They don't know.
I think they're also saying, wait, the games were played in the daytime?
Yes,
then?
they were.
They were, even during the week.
I'd be interested. I'm kind of hung up on the George Springer thing because it's a guy. I'm always for a guy that can turn it around in a day. I mean, in Game 1, he strike 0 for 4 as your leadoff hitter, striking out 4 times, and then 3 for 5 and has a 2-run shot in the 11th. So I'm curious, and I don't know what A.J. Hinch, if he said anything to him or what he did. I don't know him as a manager. We've met on the show more than a few times. For you, if you had a player who was a player you count on, really just tank it, play horribly. Now you do have a whole week before the next game.
Right.
How did you deal with trying to get them back up?
You go back to fundamentals, and you speak about baseball. I was in the Little League, and we had a coach. He was a great coach, and the first 6 batters went up to the plate. We were striking out. We were a good team. So he said, "Hey, enough of this." He said, "I want every guy when he goes up to bat now, bunt." And we all looked at him and said, "What? Bunt?" So we get up to the plate, bunt. We're bunting. Some of us make it, some of us don't. I mean, went through the whole lineup. We just bunted the ball. It took us about 3 innings. We bunted the ball. Finally, he said, "Now swing." We just started clocking the ball. He said, "You just got to go back to the basics. See the ball hit the bat. Don't make it complicated."
I thought it was interesting because it asked about the turnaround. One of the things he said is just slow down.
Yes.
And that's one of the things you think you'd be gripping harder and being a little anxious.
Kind of like golf, like Greeny swing, when he wants to really muscle up. And I said, "Greeny, just slow down, man." And I got him relaxed after about the 5th hole. After I knocked that birdie on him, that 20-footer, he was done. He didn't know what to do.
That's a story I'd relive any time. But it is true. Golf and baseball do have that in common. It is counterintuitive.
Yes.
They are the sports that the harder you try, the worse you generally do. You guys come from a sport where I'm going to run faster, I'm going to hit them even harder, I'm going to jump even higher, and that works. Basketball is the same. Hockey, to some degree, is the same. There's that skill portion of it, obviously, with the handling of the stick. But in baseball, the harder you try, generally, the worse you do. He tried a little less hard. He had a very big night last night. We'll get to football with Herman in a second. But first, let me play a Timmy Kirkjian after he finished slapping his forehead last night. He was explaining where he thinks we sit in the series and that the Dodgers, despite a heartbreaking loss, are fine.
You're still 1-1. You have Darvish pitching in Game 3. When he's right, nobody can hit that guy. You have Clayton Kershaw, who only threw 83 pitches in Game 1. So if you need him to come back in Game 4, he'll probably be fine. But he'll pitch on full rest in Game 5. They have everything in front of them here, and they really played well tonight. They just couldn't keep it in the ballpark against the most explosive offense in Major League Baseball.
Listen, we went from one area of the Dodgers, boy, if they go up 2-0 before Houston gets to go home, the position they're in. But now Houston did exactly what they needed to do. You steal one. You get one. Now, home field jumps over to you, and now can you hold on to it, as we said, with Darvish going on the mound for the Dodgers?
All right, so again, they got a travel day today. We'll pick up our coverage of the World Series a little later. And again, Buck Showalter will join the show in our final hour today. He's as good with this stuff as absolutely anyone. To Herman, we have an interesting situation in Pittsburgh now. Mike and I talked about it a lot yesterday, and we touched on it off the top this morning. The Steelers have benched receiver Martavis Bryant after the comments that he made both to Josina Anderson and all over social media that he wants out. So I'll just give you the floor. What are your thoughts on the way this was handled in Pittsburgh?
Well, I think it was handled the correct way. First of all, Martavis, I've told him, and I've said it many a time, don't press in. You press in and things happen. And you press in on a head coach that is trying to get his team to focus in on the job at hand, which is to win the division and maybe eventually get into the Super Bowl. But this team is good enough to do that. And there have been some distractions early in the season, and I think he just said, enough is enough now. I'm going to do something to make sure we understand that I'm the head coach, and we're going to do things a certain way. And you think about Bryant, this is an organization that has really tried to help this guy through his struggles. He's missed 20 games due to suspension. With that being said, when you look at their offense, it's real basic. They average about 35 passes. With that being said, there's only so many targets that can go around to this team, and we know this. 18 of the targets combined go to Brown and Bell.
Right.
All right? So Martavis gets 6 targets. Smith gets 7, and the tight end, Jesse James, gets another 4. So he's getting the most targets. He's the third wheel on the car, right? Problem with him, he's limited as a receiver. He's a vertical guy.
Right.
That's the hardest pass to complete, vertical passes. Every once in a while I try to throw him a screen. But his problem is in the fact that he doesn't understand his role. And I understand he wants to be the star, and maybe he will be the star somewhere else. But on this team, it reminds me a lot of my era when I played against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had a pretty good team, by the way. They had this guy named Terry Bradshaw, pretty good quarterback. Had a running back named Franco Harris. They had a wide receiver named Lynn Swann. And the other guy was this guy named John Stallworth. He didn't get as many passes as, obviously, Lynn Swann got.
But he is in the Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He ended up being a pretty good player, right? And so I think sometimes you forget how fortunate you are to play on a team like this that has a chance, to get in the big game and to win it. Just understand that.
I think I don't want to put it on generations, but generations are different. And we're in a very I want it now.
Oh, no doubt.
So to your point, Greeny, that you were making yesterday, you were right. He feels he's better because I think he's he's slipping behind Juju Smith-Schuster as well. I think he feels he's going down the totem pole. And to your point, you were saying he just wants his. The only problem is he needs to show some patience to want his. It may come in time. He had to realize he can't determine when that's going to happen. He can't get himself in a position to go say, I want to be somewhere else. I'm going to be a number one, and I'm going to get all my money now. It may come for him, but it's going to have to come at a different schedule that's not his schedule, and it's something he had to come to terms with.
Well, look, he's a little bit, he's a little bit of a guy right now where other organizations look at and go, well, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Is he going to be available?
Right.
20 game suspension. Missed 20 games due to suspensions.
One more, another bus.
Not because of injury.
Right.
Okay. Off the field stuff, and hopefully that's corrected. And I'm praying for the guy because he's a really good football player. So he put himself in this situation. Other organizations looking at, and if you're another organization, you're going, wait a minute now. This guy, he's on a 5-2 football team. He's hollering about he wants the ball. Do we really want this guy? Because if we don't get him enough passes, is he going to start this in our locker room? And then when he leaves the building, is he going to show up the next day? So all these things are like in his court right now. And I know he doesn't see that. And, he's a talented guy. I hope that he gets through this season, obviously. He plays well. And then this is what will happen. Pittsburgh will decide. And they still have another year on this contract.
Right.
What do we want to do with him? They have all the keys. They have the keys to the car right now.
Yeah, they do. And before people start saying, well, you see Antonio Brown gets targeted all the time. He's flipping water coolers because he's wide open. There's a difference. I don't care what anybody says. There's a pecking order. He's one of the best receivers in the league. Doesn't have the missing games by suspension issue either that Brian had. So just don't make the comparisons because they're not comparable.
You treat everyone fair. You don't treat everyone the same. That's
exactly
the rule.
Right.
But here's the next rule. Mike needed to send a message to the football team to get them focused because he understands my team is rolling right now. I don't want to have any distraction. We want to concentrate all on football and let's go. And sometimes you have to do this. You got to take a player that's really a good player and go. Now, it's even worse. I mean, I shouldn't say worse, but you can deactivate him.
Right.
He didn't even do that. Go on practice squad.
How about that? Yeah.
That sends a message.
Yes, it does.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Again, some of the Twitter here through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed with Herm Edwards in our studio. A ton on the World Series. Brett tweets, as a Dodger fan, it feels like we lost 2 games last night. Almost feels like we gave away the World Series. That's the beauty of this stuff. It feels that way. And then tomorrow night at first pitch, it will feel nothing like that at all.
Exactly right. Yeah.
You just heard, if you were with us 15 minutes ago, you heard Tim Kirkjian saying the Dodgers are absolutely fine. They're 1-1 with Yu Darvish pitching in Game 3. So I don't. The bottom line of it is the Astros are top-heavy in their rotation. They are counting heavily on winning the games that are started by Verlander and Keuchel. So you split those 2 games. I think the Dodgers should feel – look, you blew a game last night. You had a chance to win. I understand that part. And then Eric tweets, who won the game last night? Vin Scully won. The first pitch was the greatest. Did you guys see that?
Yes, it was great.
Oh, phenomenal.
We know Bickler hated it because he hates Vin Scully.
Get out of here.
Oh, you weren't here for that.
No, I wasn't.
He thinks Vin Scully is the most overrated person of all time.
You're making that up.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
I want you out.
No, that's what I did the same thing.
I want the television cameras on him right now.
Put it on that guy.
Same thing. Take
it off, Vince.
I'm right now. I'm posting the
Prince
position.
Of the airwaves.
I'm posting the position of guy who sits in this room and does things.
Hey, mom and dad, here's your son.
Yeah, Bickler. I mean, I'm going to need you out.
It's unreal, isn't it?
I'm going to need you out. You cannot knock. There are very few things in America you cannot do. One of them is you cannot knock Vince Scully. That's it.
Yeah,
we were dumbfounded.
That's what you call a walk-off. That's a great walk-off. Just keep walking. Don't let the doorknob hit you with a dog should have bit you. Just keep on going.
You know what he said?
What?
What has he done in the last 5 years? 5 years. What has he done in the last 5 years?
Oh, boy. Vince Scully has forgotten more stuff than that young man could even think about.
Listen, he needed a beatdown is what he needed.
He did in the last 5 years the same thing he did for the 62 previous.
Oh, boy.
As he made baseball better.
Yep.
All right, anyway.
He's a national treasure, Vince Scully. What are you doing?
He's a national treasure.
He's a national treasure. Stop it.
These millennials are killing everything.
Wow.
All right, let's do Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Once again, I am not defending the way
you're making a great point.
The way Martavis Bryant has gone about voicing his frustration with his situation. And he is, as I said yesterday, not only an imperfect witness, he's the absolute wrong witness because of the stuff that's gone on with him. However, I will say this. One, I do feel for players in that sport because more than any other sport, they can get themselves stuck in a situation that they cannot get out of, and you get one shot at the apple in that thing, and he sort of sees his slipping away. Again, I recognize that part of the time that he has missed, much of the time that he has missed, has been his own doing. But still, I get the frustration. And then the second part of this I will phrase as a question. When you've got Antonio Brown, who I get it, is the most productive receiver ever, but when he Facebook Lives a post-game celebration in the locker room, and basically they do nothing. And then he flips over a Gatorade cooler on the sideline because he's not getting the ball thrown his way enough. And the next game, they throw him the ball on every snap of the play. I get that the great players get special treatment, but what message does that send in how does that not reverberate down to a guy who says, okay, this is the way you get what you want here. You complain about it, you make yourself a pain in the neck, and they react.
I'll tell you like I told my daughter.
Go.
She told me one day, she said, Daddy, she says, that's not, I'm not getting treated the same as the boys on the basketball team. She said, when I come down the court, I pass it to them, they don't pass it back. I said, really? I said, you know what you do? Don't pass it to them, you shoot. She said, well, why is that? I said, honey, who said life's fair? Who made the rule up? I want to know. Let me know, because life's not fair. Life's about opportunities. Some people get more opportunities than others. Bryant, in his situation, is not going to get the same opportunities that Ben Roethlisberger is going to get. And Bell, Brown, he's not getting the same. And you know what? As an athlete coming up through the ranks, at times, when you grow up, you understand the pecking order of it. You get it. It starts at a young age. You figure it out. Now, if you're the star, there's a certain limit. And then when you cross that threshold, the coach says, enough is enough now. And I've done that with stars. When they went to the part to where you just crossed the line, I got to get you now. But your line might be a little higher than the other guy's line. But everybody get it. This is nothing new to an athlete. See, athletes get it.
That's the thing. You talk about what's the locker room. They see exactly and they understand.
They
you know what? I'll give you the example of me and Jerome Brown. Do you think Jerome Brown and I would be disciplined the same if we did the same thing?
Of course not.
Absolutely not.
No.
And do you think, the first thing I would do is completely understand it. I wouldn't think, well, you know what? Boy, Jerome got this because he did this. Maybe if I do that, I'll get the same thing. There is no way on God's green. Players all know. We all know the pecking order. We're not sitting in the locker room going, oh, my God, I can't believe that's happened. Because Jerome was great. Antonio Brown is great. That's how it works. I've been saying this for 18 years about the leash, and the first people that understand it are the players. I'm not saying they're ecstatic about it, but they know that that's how it works.
Knowing Mike, I think why it went this far is when Martavis talked about another player. That's crossing the line.
Right.
That's a teammate. You don't go over there. If you got something to say about a player, you come see me. You don't go socially with that because that's family.
Right.
Okay.
And for those who didn't see it, he basically said there's no way Juju
Smith-Schuster
is better
and
than me.
For me, and I'm not trying to think for Mike, but that was the one where Mike says,
there's the line.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's your teammate. That's your brother. He's family. We talk about family in the house. We don't go outdoors and talk about the family now. So now guess what? So he He basically said, if you talk about another player on this football team, our family, these are the consequences. That's why he got him.
I understand that completely. It does hearken me back, however, and I will adapt the line slightly to the great line from North Dallas 40. Every time I say it's a business, you say it's a family. And every time I say it's a family, you say it's a business. There's a little bit of that going on here, too, that just rubs me the wrong way. But again, did he handle this poorly? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not disagreeing with
Don't
that.
press in.
Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. What's going on with a guy who should be one of the biggest stars in sports? We'll get to that next.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign. It's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Game 2 of the World Series, a thriller last night. We'll go through that here with you. Bunch of football to get to. We talked about Martavis Bryant. We're going to talk about Cam Newton in a moment. Just as a quick aside, those of you who are watching with us on ESPN2, you've been seeing these throwback moments over the last week or so, and will continue to do so as we wrap up here. And they just showed the All-Star game, the celebrity game in which we played in New Orleans.
Yes, where we actually were players.
It was just so awful. And we were telling Herman that we walked into something we were not expecting.
We went there and we're going to have some fun.
Right.
I was probably 30, 40 pounds heavier, broken down a little more than I am now.
And I was me.
And you were you. And I remember getting into that game. Before the game was a ball. I remember getting into that game, tried to mess around with the ref. He wanted no part of it. And people were sprinting up and down the court, taking it serious. Who was the dude who was the MVP?
Correct. He was the education secretary under President
Duncan.
He
plays it. Yeah.
And I had to guard him. I just kept following him, putting it in the line because he wanted the MVP. I ran up and down the court 2 times and was dead tired, thinking they're too serious. I missed a 1-foot layup. I airballed it, but I was trying to have fun.
Me too.
And you know what? The real players saw it there? Easy pickings out of you and I. And they took advantage of it.
Yeah, we were just trying to have a good time. It reminded me of the movie Rocky, the first Rocky, where his manager says he doesn't know it's a damn show. He thinks it's a damn fight.
Yeah.
We weren't there for a damn fight.
We thought it was a show. We thought it was a damn
show.
And we wanted to put on a show. Unfortunately, we were on the wrong end of it.
Oh, we got humiliated.
We did.
Remember, we were talking like we'll set up a play where we go one-on-one against each other.
Horrible.
No one wanted anything to do with it.
Nobody wanted it.
Wow.
I'm sure you've been a celebrity.
Yeah,
in those kind of things, man.
I mean, when they take it serious, it's not good.
Oh,
it's not good.
We were so bummed. I had one shot. You had one air ball. Let me ask. Which was worse? You had a 3-point air ball, which I rebounded, by the way. Is it a rebound when it's an air ball? Is it still considered a rebound?
Yes, it's a rebound.
So I got in the stats. I missed a 1-foot layup. Mine had to be worse, right?
They're pretty.
It was
you
really
saw them both.
Yours was really not a layup. It was like a little 5-footer.
Oh, 5-footer.
You should have just kept going. That's the layup. You kind of stopped and
I stopped. I did like a
two-handed
push.
Yeah,
3 inches off the ground.
And Greeny was just out of his target zone.
Yeah. Everything about it was just awful. Anyway, that's not today's story. Today's story is Game 2 of the World Series, which was a classic. Patrick Nuzzo tweets at us, Travis is the worst. Now, that's the Nuzzler, right? That's our guy who used to do social for us here. Again, we've allowed the Bickler back in the studio, even though he deigned to say a foul word about Vin Scully, which is clearly against the rules here. Seth tweets at us, Vin Scully was absolutely boring to listen to. So Seth is banned. Seth is no longer allowed to tweet the show. Vin Scully is one of the best things in baseball history. And I thought his last night, his routine that he did with the microphone and everything else, and ultimately brings out Steve Yeager and ultimately brings out Fernando Valenzuela, was perfect.
Yes.
Some things in life are perfect. It was absolutely a perfect way to start a World Series game.
Yep, I agree.
Listen, I agree as well, but I guess we do ask the question for those younger people who have not had the Vin Scully experience, and this is how they're kind of dropped out and see this. You know what? Can you see it from their side?
Well, you can say you don't know anything about him. Well, that's fine. But I don't know. There's nothing to knock about Vince Scully.
But here's what they don't realize. A lot of young people. baseball for me, unless you go there and watch it like live, it's a great radio game. It's maybe the greatest game as far as
it is
on radio.
Totally right.
It's a radio game,
Mm-hmm.
and I can remember listening to the radio because I was a big Giant fan. The Giants and the Dodgers, Vince Scully. I mean and it almost took you into the park. You almost felt like you were there.
You got to be great to paint that picture.
I mean, it was just that's what I remember. Not so much the TV,
right,
but the radio part of it. It was like, man, this guy was great to listen to.
And the good news is that every pitch of the World Series is on ESPN Radio. You'll hear it all with Dan Shulman and Aaron Boone and Buster Olney and company, and Game 3 will be tomorrow night. Okay, let me play a little bit from last night. George Springer, one of the real heroes last night. And, Mike, you were talking about the tale of redemption for Springer.
Yeah, Springer in Game 1, leadoff hitter, struck out 4 times. And, I mean, so a little bit of, okay, what's going to happen on this game? All that happens is he's 3 for 5 and hits the 2-run home run in the 11th inning. So, I mean, to come back just one day from having such a bad performance to this was incredible.
Here's his manager, A.J. Hinch.
He's an incredible player. I mean, I don't really ride the roller coaster with players. You got to believe in what these guys can do, not what they're not doing. If you respond to every bad game or tough game, I mean, you'll bounce these guys around and ruin their confidence in a heartbeat. This is one of our best players, and there's no need to panic over a bad night against Clayton Kershaw. And I don't care if it's a bad night against any pitcher. This game is really, really hard. Our guys in the Dodgers make it look really easy, but it's a hard game, and there's a ton of failure involved. So I believe in players, and I specifically believe in George. And tonight is an example why he wasn't broken. His swing's not bad. He's not gone for the series. He had a bad night and came back with one of the best nights.
I guess it has to be in that sport where there's 162 regular season games and then the postseason that you can't react to one game like that. That you have to realize most guys will eventually, the water level will go to what they normally are. So you don't just give up on somebody that quickly.
I'm going to play one more for you. This is Buster on Dave Roberts, manager of the Dodgers, who tries to get 6 outs last night out of Kenley Jansen and winds up losing Game 2 of the World Series, at least as partially because of that decision. Here's Buster Olney on the manager.
He told us before the game that he was thinking about doing that, knowing that tomorrow's an off day. But I wonder if on the flight to Houston, he'll be kicking himself a little bit and thinking, you know what, if I had just given him a clean inning to start the 8th inning rather than bring in Morrow and then get him and then take him out right away after one batter got on, that might be the move that haunts Dave.
So let me ask you, Herman, you were a coach a long time, and the reason that coaches and managers get paid all the money they do is because they have to make these decisions without knowing the outcome.
Yes.
The beauty of doing this job, Mike and all of us, is we get to analyze those decisions after the result has been seen. And I always equate it to blackjack. Everyone knows, or if you play blackjack, you're supposed to know, and if you ever sat at a table with Mike Golic, he'll let you know, that there are certain rules you're supposed to follow. There are mathematical probabilities of this stuff that you can turn the odds as close to your favor as possible. And you do it. It doesn't mean you're going to win every single time.
Right.
But you hit on 16 against a face card, even if it means you bust. So that said, tell us about that feeling when you're a coach, you make a decision that you felt was right when you made it, and then you wake up the next morning and your team lost the game because
some of it has to do, as you said, there's a set of rules that you try to go by, and everyone knows that, the fans and everyone understands that, and we all are very versed on what coaches should do. But then there's this other situation where it's your gut. And sometimes you just lean on your gut and you go, I know these players in and out better than anybody else because I'm here every day. I watch them, practice, I visit with them. I know where their psyche is. That's one thing about a coach. You better know a player's psyche. In any sport, you got to kind of know, you got to have a feeling for them. And this is what you see every day in practice when you visit with them. You watch them in the good times, the bad times, you kind of know that. And then you got to make a decision. You look at the numbers, you look at the pitch count, you look at all those things and say, well, okay, I should take him out. And then you go, I got this feeling, no, I'm going to be okay. And sometimes you're wrong. Then you got to, then the great thing about it, what you have to do as a coach, you got to say it. Say, hey, you know what? I made a decision, the wrong decision. And you move on. And the players respect that.
Right.
Look, most of the time when you make decisions, unless it's really out of the box, the players know before you make the decision, coach is probably going to do this. Because we've been around coach.
There's strategic adjustments that you make, X's and O's, and then there's that gut decision on personnel. You know, and that's the one that we're talking about there. Quite honestly, I ask it about Rich Hill. Of why he only won 4 innings, throwing 60 pitches, and having success in the regular season third time through. I really can't wait to talk to Buck Showalter about it, where you have a plan, and everybody seemed to know that plan, that he was going to, if he could win 4, and that would be it. But it's like, oh, he won 4, and throwing pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, do we leave him in there? But they stuck with their plan and took him out. And listen, it still paid off. They were winning 3-1 in the 6th inning. They were in their bullpen. They were right where they wanted to be.
Yeah, and we see it. We see it every Sunday, right? Yeah, it's 4th and 1, right? 4th and 2. Coach, you hear him? You're on the sideline. Go for it, Coach. Go for it. And you're going, are you kidding me? We've been trying to run this ball all day. We can't make a yard. and then you fall into the trap. You go, yeah. You get all excited. Yeah, let's go for it, boy. But 4th and 4. We're okay.
Listen, I'm not gonna. Listen,
come on.
Nothing to do with anything. But as far as these guys were lifers doing it. Going back to that Under Armour football game, that
there you go.
I was the head coach of because Herm had to leave. I went there during the week, and now I'm the head coach on game day. And this is high school all-star game. These are best players in the country, but it's one time. And all of a sudden, I remember like on the first or second drive where we're like just into their territory. It's like 3rd and 8, and the coach comes up to me, the old coordinator's like, can we go for it on 4th down? I'm like, why are you asking me? And then I'm like, oh, yeah. I got to make that decision. I got to make this decision. And I just instantly said, if it's 4th and – I said it with – if it's 4th and 5 or less, go for it. Yeah. If not, we're going to punt it.
That's exactly right.
And I'm like, what the hell did I just say? I blacked out for a moment there.
Unbelievable, man.
But it's like, and that was a goofy game.
So you punted the ball?
No, we got within 5 and we won 4 on 4th down.
And?
I don't remember. We won the game. That's
won
all
the game.
I know.
You had to win the game.
That's
exactly
win
right.
the game now. We're
6-1.
We're 6-1. We're doing good.
Woo. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Creatives with the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. I've only made one really controversial decision as a coach or manager in my life, and that was in
it paid off, but it was
celebrity
horrible.
softball game.
Oh.
Yankee Stadium, closing up the old Yankee Stadium, 2007, I think it was. They had the All-Star game there, and Mike and I were the managers in the celebrity softball game.
Slow pitch
softball on the Sunday.
Okay.
And I'm nursing a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 6th, whatever the last inning was. I think it was the 6th. And Golic's got Wade Boggs comes to the plate with a man aboard. And the crowd, and it was a pretty big crowd. And everyone's chanting and yelling and screaming.
Oh, yeah.
They got to see Wade Boggs hit one out of the ballpark.
That's right.
Win it.
I came out to the mound. My pitcher was James Denton from Desperate Housewives. Yep. And I went over and I said, Jim, we're putting this guy on.
Walk him. An intentional walk.
He said, what?
Softball game.
He didn't know what I meant. I said, Kenny Mayne is on deck. I said, we're not pitching to Wade Boggs with Kenny Mayne on deck.
Strategically a good move.
And so we did. We intentionally walked
Wade Boggs.
I got booed
in front of
so loudly.
Does Wade Boggs even talk to you?
He wasn't that upset. Kenny Mayne flew out to center. We won the game.
Yeah.
And then they come over. They're interviewing us, for the TV. Right. And they said to me, why would you intentionally walk a batter in a celebrity softball game? And I said, well, why were they keeping score? If we were keeping score, then I assumed my intention was to try and win. Yeah, I'm not here to entertain the fans.
There you go.
If you wind up listening to the fans, you wind up sitting with the fans. Yeah. I was given the responsibility of managing that game, and I was going to try and win, and I did.
Everything you say, and strategically you were right, but man, I hated you at that moment.
It was a terrible decision.
It's a softball game, Greeny. Stop it! In Yankee Stadium, Wayne Boggs. You don't walk Wayne Boggs in a softball game. You let him hit. He's a star.
The best part, my favorite part of that story is that my pitcher was an actor from Desperate Housewives.
Oh, boy.
And we intentionally walked Wade Boggs. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Let's get on to business here. So we'll have much more coverage of the World Series as our morning continues, including, not limited to, but the best part of it will be Buck Showalter, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 Central, as we'll talk about the World Series with one of the best managers in the game. Okay. To this Cam Newton thing yesterday, it's been a rough couple of weeks for Cam, obviously. And so let's play it for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it. Last week he didn't do his media availability. Right. Now we're just a couple of weeks removed from the media availability in which he had what were deemed by everyone to be condescending response to a female reporter asking him a question, and that created a controversy. And then he skips his media availability last week, and that creates a controversy. And then there he is yesterday as his team has lost 2 straight games and only scored 3 points in Chicago this past weekend. And he has his media availability yesterday, and he looks late in it, as though he is obviously uncomfortable and for lack of a better word, kind of cranky about being there. And then very abruptly, he ends it. I will play it for you now.
Does this offense, and I know you had several at Detroit and New England, do you think you guys have the wherewithal to do that consistently week in and week out?
Next question. Thanks.
Probably get.
And before that, he was asked a question about Christian McCaffrey and getting involved in the offense, and he started giving a cranky, oh, my God, I can't believe you asked that or I'm answering that question. He actually stopped, and he just said, wait a minute, and he kind of took a breath.
Right.
And then he went to the Christian McCaffrey. You don't want him on the sideline. He can make plays for you. He gave the answer.
Right.
You know, a lot of these are standard answers.
Yes.
We get it.
Right.
But he almost went, there kind of cranked himself out of that one, but he brought it back. But then that one next question walked off, and just he's his own worst enemy right now, and I don't get it.
Let me just paint the picture for those of you listening on the radio. You heard like a long silence there at the end, because after he said next question, there's sort of a stunned silence in the room, and he sort of pauses a beat, and then he just turns and walks off, and the camera followed him as he walked off into the locker room where he was no longer visible. So that's what, if you're wondering, well, what happened then? That's what happened then, and Cam was gone. And the team released a statement that basically said that he felt he had fulfilled his media obligation because he had been out there for 9 minutes, and that was that. So clearly it's a very awkward moment. Herman, what do you make of it?
Well, I hope they start winning, because losing is not good for him. He doesn't handle it, obviously, in the way we would like for him to handle it, being the face of this organization and one of the faces in the National Football League. Going forward, I know Ron's a good friend. He's probably going to sit down with Cam and say, look, we got to have a game plan before you go into these press conferences. And I think, for the most part, make him well aware of the fact that, look, here's going to be some talking points. When you get up to the mic, you can start the conversation. You don't have to wait for the question. You really don't. I mean, sometimes we get fooled in that. We think we got to go up there and ask the questions. No, you can. Look, I understand. I was a head coach. You had to deal with them all the time. And sometimes you go in knowing you have a feeling of what's about to happen. And before it happens, you start answering questions. You actually control the room. You can do that. But you have to be vocal early. You don't wait for them. You come up with some points. Hey, look. We struggle a little bit on offense, and this is kind of why, and kind of go through the progression of what happened before the questions are asked. And then all of a sudden you disarm people. You kind of disarm them because they're like, oh, he's already answering all this stuff. And then you might get one or two. But then before you know it, Mike, you've talked for about 7 or 8 minutes, and you're almost done because you've already answered a lot of the questions that probably people are going to ask you. Because you know who knows that? The PR guys.
Right.
Before I went to every press conference, because I never listened to the radio, none of it. When I was coaching, I was in the bunker. And before I'd go to the press conference, I'd say, okay, what's happening? And he'd say, Coach, these are going to be the hot buttons. Got it. I'd write them down, go, okay. I stepped before the mics, and, I had some classic press conferences in New York.
None of those that
you play to win the game.
That got any attention.
Well, just saying. And so I was already armed with information where I was going and would answer a bunch of the questions before they even got asked. And so it was done. And then you get a few other ones, and I go, okay, and I'd answer, and I'd be done. See you later.
So is that the end? Because while you and I played the same game, I played the same game as Cam Newton. I can't put myself in your guys' position because as a head coach, you were every time they're in the media, you're there. Cam Newton as one of the stars in the league and the star on that team, the quarterback, every time he has to be out there.
Yes.
So is that the lesson here? Because people
I would
are
hope.
questioning his leadership abilities,
and that's the
everything
problem
that goes with it. Is he opens himself up to a lot of criticism because of this, and we know he doesn't seem to handle the criticism well. So, is that what you're saying? Is this the way he has to go?
Yeah. If I was the head coach, that's the conversation I would have with Cam, with the PR guy in Cam. So this is how we got to go forward now. We have to do this. And remember, these players are all about building their brand. You don't always build your brand when you win. It's moments like this, how you handle it. People want to see that too. They're like, okay, he handled this pretty good. These guys are about. He's a brand guy. We get that. And so, how do you handle defeat? Well, you handle it gracefully. I mean, you don't have to. No one likes it.
No.
But it's just the way you go about it. Those people have an obligation to do a job. The media. and I've always said this as a head coach, I have an obligation to obviously give them information. Whether they take it or not, whether they believe it or not, whether they twist it, that's on them.
But it's information you want to give.
I'm going to give it to them, okay? Because I've always said this. When you're a coach and a player, you're trying to teach the people, the audience that listen to you speak, you're trying to teach them the game of football and see it through your eyes. Because everyone sees the game different, right? I mean, they see it different. The player sees it different. Right. The fan sees it different. You know, we all have this different vision of what we just witnessed. A lot of times we see things, but why did it happen? Right. And I always felt like my job is to explain why.
I know you got to go to Sports Center real quick. What's the closest? You ever walk out of a presser? No. And if not, what's the closest you ever got to walk out?
That one there.
Ready to win.
Was it that one?
Yeah, but that one there was on a Tuesday when we had just gotten to 2-5. And Judy Batista, I love her. Love her. She was sitting in the front row, and there was, you know, and what are you guys going to do? And she kind of posed the question of basically, are this team going to, you know, tap out? And I felt it, and I knew it, and I go, okay. And I knew the players were off. And I'm going, I'm going to send a message. And, you know, when you say it, you just kind of say it, and you don't never know what it's going to, you never know how it's going to turn out, right? You never, so the next day, so I go home that night, you know, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I go home, and it's Tuesday, and a light comes on. My wife gets up. She says, what did you do today? And I went, because after that, you know, you just go in the bunker. You start watching tape, man. You're not just, and you're just going, you know. And she says, what did you do? I said, what are you talking about, honey? I just need to go to bed for like 3 hours before I got to go back. She says, no. It was all over. They've been talking about all that. I said, honey, what are you talking about? Then she looks at me. She said, hello? And I went, oh, that one. Yeah. She said, yeah, that one.
And I tell you what, many people don't remember that you wound up making a move to Chad Pennington. Yes. And you guys went out to San Diego and beat them, and you wound up making the playoffs that year.
And won the division.
You won the division, came back, you beat Green Bay in the last game of the season to win the division and make the playoffs that year. And then, was that the year you beat Indianapolis like 41-0?
41-0.
And then should have beat Oakland the next week, too, but that's a different story.
Yep, I tell you what, you never know.
All right, well done. Hurt, we got to let Herman go over to Sports Center. You're the best, Herman. Thank you so much, as always.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, we help keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. So you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
All right, I'm looking at a bunch of different tweets here on a bunch of different topics. Chris, he may have me in a moment of hypocrisy. He tweets at us because in the same conversation, not together, but in the same segment of our show here this hour, we talked about the celebrity basketball game in which we played and we were terrible, and the celebrity softball game in which we managed, and I intentionally walked Wade Boggs.
Right.
And Chris may have me. He tweets, Greeny, so you walk Boggs to try to win the celebrity softball game, but you were upset because you thought the basketball game was too competitive. Does he have me, or do I have an out here?
No, I think he has you.
He may have me.
Listen, it wasn't that we were mad it was competitive. We just thought it was going to be competitive. And once we realized it was competitive, we realized we shouldn't be out there anymore.
Not only that, here's, I think, my one argument back. I would not have walked Wade Boggs in the third inning. There were 2 outs in the last inning. It was time to win. You and I weren't on the floor at winning time of that celebrity all-star game. So, I thought there would have been – I mean, Kevin Hart is playing in the game. He's funny. I thought we were there to try and inject some humor and personality.
It wasn't what we thought it was going to be, but I also thought you weren't going to intentionally walk one of the great hitters of all time in front of thousands of fans at Yankee Stadium in a celebrity softball slow pitch game.
That was classic. And we've got some tweets on a bunch of other topics as well, including Cam Newton, there's a lot of this. Kostoff tweets at us, Cam needs to stop acting like a spoiled brat. He's all laughs when he wins and then acts like a child when he loses. The problem is he is getting that he is earning that reputation.
I was going to say, he's earning it.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, he's his own worst enemy about this, and I think Herm's advice is great advice. And I don't know what their head coach, Ron Rivera, if he's had a talk with him or not, but I thought that was great advice by Herm that Cam could take going into these is go in there and start it off. Go in there, know what I think that's a fantastic idea. Again, that's something while we all played the same game, I can't put myself in those shoes. I was interviewed by beat reporters for a couple of minutes, when they were allowed in the locker room. I was never at a presser that you had to do every week like Cam is or like Herm had to do. That's a great idea. Go in, ask the PR, what's the hot button? Where are they going? And going into trying to fuse it with that, I think that's a great idea. But I don't know will Cam listen to that? Will Cam want to do that? I have no idea but right now, and he may not, doesn't care. But are we going to get the next apology? Sorry, I did that. The next presser? I have no idea. But
it doesn't appear so.
No, but what a tough way to go through to have to explain your actions at a press conference.
That's what I'm going to say about this. I don't think that this is something that he has to apologize for.
No, I agree with that.
But here's what I always tell my kids is life is difficult. Don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. Being a starting quarterback of a National Football League team is a tough job. Now, you didn't have to answer all those questions. You also didn't get paid tens of millions of dollars and get national TV commercials and all of that. So to whom much is given, of whom much is expected. You want to be a star quarterback, you can't just take the good stuff that comes with that, like the Under Armour commercials and the adoring fans and all that. You also have to put up with the not so much fun parts of that. And he's making this more difficult than it needs to be. That was not a bad question. It wasn't a hot-button question. They're asking why is the team struggling to make chunk plays?
Yeah.
They've only had one play in the last 2 weeks of more than 20 yards. It's a simple question to answer.
And it's a simple answer as well. And listen, I know these guys have to get frustrated going up there all the time and getting asked some of the questions and get frustrated by, I'm just going to answer it this way. And so I can't sit there and tell them. I don't have the experience of what to do in that situation, but I know this. After a presser, usually they're writing down the answers, and you're talking about the answers and talking about the sport. You're not talking about the actions of the person at the presser.
Yeah.
You just bring it in on yourself. He's bringing it all on himself with this kind of whiny, ticked-off attitude that just rubs people the wrong way. And maybe maybe it's completely different in the locker room. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know that. But everything gets questioned about him. Is that fair? Probably not. But that's where we are, man. When all you have to go on is, I saw Cam for 3 minutes a day at a presser where he acted like he wasn't interested, rolled his eyes, said next question, and walked off. I'm going to now make a judgment on that. May not be fair, but this is what we do now. So, and he's done it a few times. So a lot of people are saying, you know what, where there's smoke, there's a whole lot of fire, or there's already fire here.
What we're going to do now is Next Question. Next Question with Mike and Mike, brought to you by Indeed.com. Post your next job opening on the world's #1 job site. Here we go. You ready? Number one. First question. Did you have any issue with Carlos Correa's bat flip in the 10th inning last night?
No. I mean, are you kidding? You're in the World Series. You just went back-to-back home runs in the 10th inning. And it wasn't even a flip. He kind of launched it. He didn't flip it.
It's a flip. I mean, it's a chuck. He chucked it.
He chucked it. It's a better word than a flip. I have zero problem with it. Hembo probably wants him thrown out of the league forever.
Listen, there is a time and place for everything. You just hit a home run. You just hit back-to-back home runs in extra innings in a World Series game.
Come on.
If you want to do cartwheels on your way to first base, I don't have an issue with it.
I completely agree.
Hembo hates it. And
he hates it. I know.
That's. Well, you know what? We already threw Bickler out of the studio. We may have to ban Hembo.
We're going to have an empty studio here soon.
Except if we banned Hembo, we wouldn't know anything.
That's very true.
About what was going on in the world. All right, next question. True or false, the Falcons are going to miss the playoffs?
Well, listen, in the preseason picks I had, I didn't have them in the playoffs, but I had the Giants in. So, boy, I would like to think they could come out of this thing. That NFC South, man. Saints are at the top right now. Atlanta at 3-3. Saints at 4-2. Carolina still ahead of Atlanta. Can they come out of what they're? I'm going to say true. I'm going to say they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm going to stick with my preseason pick right now, saying they aren't going to make the playoffs because, quite honestly, they haven't shown me a ton that says they're going to be in it, and I want to be right.
I'm going to consider going the other way. I'm going to say they are going to make the playoffs because maybe I'm just not believing what my eyes are showing me. And I'm also not totally sold on a lot of teams in the NFC. There are a lot of teams in the NFC. Like one of the teams in front of them is Green Bay, but
No, you're right, because the other, you could quite honestly see a wild card the way it's going coming out of the NFC West, the way the Rams and the Seahawks are playing. But you need another one somewhere. And with Green Bay, we think kind of out of it without Aaron Rodgers. Where's it going to come from? So it may come from the South.
Next question: Wentz, Watson. Who do the Browns regret not drafting more? Can I go first on this?
Yeah,
one?
Go ahead. Sure.
The answer to that question is yes. There's no. What do you mean more? There's no number greater than 100%. Not drafting Carson Wentz is going to wind up looking like a terrible decision. Not drafting Deshaun Watson is going to wind up looking like a terrible decision.
Yeah, it is.
Now they can right all of those wrongs by getting it right. Right? So if they wind up taking Josh Allen next year or Josh Rosen next year, or if somehow Deshaun Kaiser, who's been placed in a ridiculously terrible situation, if they get the quarterback situation right in the next year or two, then this will all be forgotten.
Yes, it will.
But right now, I don't know why you would make a distinction between the two.
Well, I mean, the distinction right now is a lot of people saying after 7 games, Carson Wentz, the MVP of the league in his second year, and you could have had him. Deshaun Watson is certainly playing extremely
probably the rookie
well,
of the year.
Playing with 15 touchdowns. I agree with you. I'll say it again. Yesterday's announcement should not have been Deshaun Kaiser is starting against Minnesota. It should be Deshaun Kaiser is starting the rest of the season. Leave him out there. You need to see what you have so you know what you're going to do next year when you have one of the first picks.
Next question. DeMarcus Cousins returns to Sacramento tonight. Which return are you most looking forward to this season?
I would say I'd probably look to Chris Paul back to L.A. I think that's probably where I would go. I mean, Melo back to New York. I do get that. That'll be interesting.
Melo to New York. Melo in New York, Paul George to Indy. I mean, are we looking for the most vitriol? I don't think Carmelo's going to get booed going back to New York.
I don't either.
I don't think Jimmy Butler, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Butler, but he didn't force his way angrily out of town. Paul George
said, I'm not going to be here, so you might want to get rid of me now. So,
that's the one, for that reason, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
I'll go with Chris Paul.
Obviously, Gordon Hayward's return to Utah, which was going to be a very interesting one to watch, isn't going to happen.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
538.com put together their model of the teams that have the best chance of winding up in the college football playoff. And, of course, this is an impossibility because you never know who's going to beat who. And no one would have projected into their model Clemson losing to Syracuse and a lot of other things like that. But what we have both said on this show repeatedly over the last couple of days, even going back to last week, was if Notre Dame wins out, they're going to get in. I've referred to them as one of the teams that controls its own destiny. 538.com disagrees. This is from 538 yesterday. Even if the Irish run the table, which their model gives them a 21% chance of doing, they have tough games still on their schedule with Miami and Stanford and this week with NC State. But let's say they win out. Mm-hmm. You and I both believe, I think you do.
No, I don't. Oh, I said all along.
They get in for sure?
No, I've never said that.
I will disagree with you, and I'll disagree with them.
I want them to – do I think they should? Listen, I'm a Notre Dame guy. I would want and think they should be in, but looking at it analytically, I can see why there would be question. They're going to have one less data point than other teams that are playing for conference championships. Now, they're going to have strength of schedule, I think, on their side. We're going to find out again. We're finding out more and more about the committee from conference championships. We saw last year what that meant, especially in the Big Ten. Not a whole lot. So maybe that works in Notre Dame's favor, but it's still a game less than everybody else. So, no, I will not. Do I think they should? Yes, but do I think it'll absolutely happen if they run the table? No.
I will disagree with you for two reasons. The lesser reason is their loss is a 1-point loss on the road to Georgia. Right. Excuse me, that game was in South Bend. My bad. But still, to a Georgia team that, in a perfect world, puts together the kind of season it looks like they're going to. If they lose a close game to Alabama and that's their only loss, they still wind up one of the best teams in the country. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. But number two, and the more significant reason, even though this isn't supposed to matter, it does. They're Notre Dame. They've never been in this thing before. They've not been in this format of the college football playoff.
Right.
And you cannot tell me it doesn't make any difference. I don't believe it.
I understand what you're saying. It's not supposed to make any difference. I get what you're saying.
You can't tell me it didn't make at least a little bit of a difference that Ohio State got in instead of TCU and Baylor that first year. You can't tell me it doesn't make at least a little bit of a difference that these teams have these blue blood, marquee, big name programs. I'm not talking about anyone doing anything nefarious. I'm saying I think we are just conditioned to think a certain way.
So it would be, and forget the Pac-12. They're out. I don't think they're going to be in this even with a one-loss conference champ. Let's take TCU. And a lot of the first rankings will be out next week. And if everybody in the top 10 wins, it'll just be the order that they're in.
Everybody in the top 10 can't win because Penn State's playing Ohio State.
Penn State's playing Ohio State. Okay. So let's take the other undefeated. Bama.
Where is Notre Dame right now?
They're number 9.
Okay.
Bama, you're right. Penn State, they cannot be an undefeated after this. Either way, my point is, if you get to TCU, a one-loss Big 12 conference champ, Clemson.
What's their loss? I mean, what I need to know is who's their loss.
I don't know.
Either way, it's going to come after Notre Dame's loss because Notre Dame already had their loss. Go ahead.
Conference champ, TCU. Clemson, one-loss conference champ. Alabama, undefeated SEC champ, beating an undefeated Georgia team 21-20.
Well,
now Georgia, his only loss is a better loss than Notre Dame's loss, which was to them. And that's their only loss. And it comes in the last game, but it comes to the number one team in the country by 1 point. 2017, 2019, same score Notre Dame lost to Georgia by.
Can I just quickly tell you that 538 is giving both Washington and Washington State a better chance to get in if they win out? We're ruling out the Pac-12. 538 isn't.
Okay,
Once again, I disagree with them.
I'm ruling out.
And I think that a lot of biases come into this. And I don't mean this to cast aspersion on the credibility or the gravitas of the people in that room, but I think there are some things that are just part of the human condition. And I think that Notre Dame being Notre Dame will make a difference. I really do.
I just gave you that scenario. Who gets left out? Notre Dame stays in.
TCU, in that scenario, I think Georgia gets left out.
You think Georgia gets left out?
Yes.
How hard would you scream that one?
They lost their last game. How hard did we scream about Penn State last year? They beat Ohio State
and won the conference. Why does it matter when you lost your last game? See, that's what I can't stand. Why does it matter you lost your last game? They lost one game to an undefeated number one team in the country. I'm arguing against Notre Dame here, but I'm talking logic. I don't care when they lost. I know it looks better to lose early and you can make up for it, but because they lost their last game, you're going to hold that against them even though it would be a 1 point loss to the undefeated number one team in the country?
I'm not telling you what I think should happen. I'm telling you what I think would happen. Let me pause on this because we got to go to a new hour here and then we'll continue to discuss it.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.